we are going to deal with a problem for uneven net cash flow. There is an initial investment of $8,320,000 on plant and machinery. It is expected to generate net cash flow of $3,411,000, $4,070,000, $5,824,000, and $2,065,000 at the end of first, second, third, and fourth years respectively. At the end of 4 year, machinery will be sold as $900,000. Calculate net present value of the investment. If discount rate is 18%, round your answer to nearest $1,000 value. So if we look at this problem, then the basic things which are required to apply the net present value method, they are given. Initial investment is given. The net cash flows at the end of year 1, 2, 3, 4, they are given. At the end of fourth year, the salvage value, it is also given, so that can be added to the cash flow. And the rate of interest or discount rate, it is given as 18%. So using this all data, we are supposed to calculate the net present value of the project and check whether the project can be accepted or it should be rejected. Now if we look at the problem, then the present value factors we are calculating initially, because if we see the formula, the net present value is equal to summation r divided by 1 plus r bracket raised to I, where this r will be the net cash flow per period under consideration, divided by 1 plus the discount rate bracket raised to the respective period what is under consideration. So for that purpose, for each of the cash flow, we will be multiplying by this 1 upon 1 plus r bracket raised to I factor, which is nothing but called as the discount factor or present value factor. So that's why the present value factors for year 1, 2, 3, 4, they can be calculated as 1 divided by 1 plus 0.18 bracket raised to 1. For year 2, 1 divided by 1 plus 0.18 bracket raised to 2. For year 3, it is 1 divided by 1 plus 0.18 bracket cube. And for year 4, it is 1 divided by 1 plus 0.18 bracket raised to 4. So these all factors, if we have with us, it will be easier for the further calculation. So this is the sample calculation for this particular problem. This is year 1, 2, 3, 4, which are given. Net cash flow for each of the year, it is 3411, 4070, 5824, 2065. We have put it in the first row. Salvage value, it is not applicable in year 1, year 2, year 3. It is only applicable at the end of year 4. So that's why the total cash inflow for year 1, 2, 3, 4, for year 1, 2, 3, it is same as the values which are given. But for year 4, it will be the net cash flow plus the salvage value. So this is 2965 at the end of year 4. Now these are the total cash inflows at the end of period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, or year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Now already we have calculated the present value factors. So if you remember the formula, it is cash flow divided by 1 plus rate of interest bracket raised to the period number. So the same we will go for multiplication, because this is already 1 divided by 1 plus r bracket raised to n that we have calculated. So we are multiplying this total cash inflow by the respective present value factor for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Now if we go for multiplication of the various present value factors to the respective cash inflows, the present value of cash flow we are getting as 2890.68, 2923.01, 3544.67, 1529.31. So these are the various values. Let us say if we go for a problem which is having even cash flow for all the periods under consideration, what we can do is we can put the cash flows as it is. Let us say if for the same problem, the cash flow as 3500 for each of the year. So here it will be 3500, 3500, 3500, 3500, and then we will calculating the total cash inflow. We will multiply with the present value factors. So even though we have a problem which is for uneven net cash flow or for even cash flow, we can use the same logic what we are applying over here. So it is always better that you may go for remembering one process, so that no need to go for remembering two different formulae, going for two different types of calculations. This particular method what we are going to discuss just now for uneven cash flow is equally applicable for even cash flow also, and this will give you slightly, you will have one or two steps more for calculation, but the problem of remembering two different formulae, having certain confusion, that can be avoided. So it is always better that you remember this, and even if it is a even cash flow formula, even cash flow problem, we can apply the same methodology. We have to write down the cash flow for each of the year. If there is any salvage value, we can add at the appropriate year, find out the total cash inflow. We can calculate the present value factors, and those present value factors, they can be multiplied directly to those different cash flows at the end of each period. So likewise, present value for each cash flow that have been determined, if we add all these present values, then total present value of cash flow comes out to be $10888,000. From this, the net present value formula is the total present value of cash flows minus the initial investment. So 8320 initial investment, if we subtract, then $2,568,000, that is the net present value of this particular project. And if the net present value of this project is positive, then we can say that this particular project can be accepted. So this is the overall methodology when we are having uneven net cash flows and we are trying to calculate the net present value for the project. The strengths of net present value. The net present value accounts for time value of money, which makes it better approach than those investment appraisal techniques which do not discount future cash flow, like payback period and accounting rate of return. So if we compare this net present value method, then this particular value takes into account the time value of money, and because of that, this method is more advantageous, more correct, we can say, as compared to the methods like payback period and accounting rate of return. This net present value is even better than some discounted cash flow techniques like internal rate of return. So there are certain advantages of net present value method over the internal rate of return method, even though both the methods, they are taking into account the time value of money. So in certain situations where the results which are given by internal rate of return and net present value, they are conflicting, means net present value method if I apply, we say that the project should be accepted, and if we go for internal rate of return, maybe we are getting situation that the decision is project is to be rejected. In that case, the decision which is given by net present value method is always preferred. Certain weaknesses. Net present value is after all an estimation. It is sensitive to changes in estimate for future cash flow, salvage value and cost of capital. This net present value does not take into account size of the project. So the volume, the size, that is not going to be taken into account. What we are simply considering is what net present value we are obtaining for that particular project and taking all our decisions based upon that net present value. Let us move for another method, which is internal rate of return. So we'll discuss these two methods and then we'll go for some more practice problems for understanding how to apply the method NPV as well as IRR in different situations. This internal rate of return is the discount rate at which the net present value of an investment is zero. IRR is one of the most popular capital budgeting technique. So this is a particular internal rate of return is technique which has a similar methodology, same as the net present value method. But what happens is, in net present value method, we have the discount rate with us, and for that discount rate, we are trying to calculate the net present value of the particular project. When we don't know the discount rate, we are simply having the data about initial investment and the various cash flows at the end of different years. And if we put those all present values of the cash flows minus initial investment, that is net present value, and equate it to 0, then what is the unknown, that is the discount rate, if we calculate for net present value equal to 0, then that particular discount rate or the cost of capital, we call it as the internal rate of return. Companies invest in different projects to generate values and increase their stakeholder wealth, which is possible only if the projects they invest in generate a return higher than minimum rate of return required by providers of the capital. This required rate of return is called as the hurdle rate. So every stakeholder who is going to invest in the project will be requiring certain minimum rate of return. And in that case, this particular minimum rate of return will be called as the hurdle rate. So whatever the internal rate of return we are obtaining through the cash flow, we are obtaining through equating the net present value to 0, this internal rate of return will be compared with the hurdle rate, and if the internal rate of return what we obtain is greater than the hurdle rate, then only we say the project is considerable, project may be accepted. IRR is a discounted cash flow technique, which means that it incorporates the time value of money, same as the net present value. Initial outlay or investment in the project must be compensated by net cash flow, which far exceed the initial investment. The higher those cash flow when compared to initial outlay, the higher will be IRR, and project is a promising investment. So for the project to have IRR greater than hurdle rate, what is important is the present value of cash flows should be greater than the initial investment. Then only we will have the hurdle rate, we will have the internal rate of return greater than the hurdle rate, and we may have the project to be acceptable. There is no direct algebraic expression in which we might plug in some number and get the IRR. So there is no certain method where directly we can get the IRR value. So this can be calculated by two different methods. One is hit and trial method. So simply we can go for putting certain values, and the value for which we get approximately the net present value equal to 0, we may say that this is the internal rate of return for that particular project. So if we say the net present value is equal to 0, it gives the indication that present value of future cash flows minus initial investment is equal to 0. So actually this is the formula for net present value of cash flows or present value of future cash flows minus initial investment, that is nothing but your net present value. And in this case, when we are going for internal rate of return, we are assuming that the net present value should be equal to 0. That's why we are equating present value of future cash flows minus initial investment, this expression, to 0. So CF1 divided by 1 plus r bracket raised to 1 plus CF2 divided by 1 plus r bracket square plus CF3 divided by 1 plus r bracket cube plus and so on minus initial investment is equal to 0. So when we have gone for the net present value formula, you must be remembering it was summation of r divided by 1 plus r bracket raised to the corresponding period. So instead of r, we are using the notation as CF, that is cash flow, and 1, 2, 3, 4. I means it is number of period. 1 plus r bracket raised to I. So again, this divided by 1 plus r bracket raised to 1, 2, 3, 4 number of periods, and we are adding it together minus initial investment, that is equal to net present value. In case of IRR, we are equating this equation to 0. So this is the formula. Now in this particular case, the situation will be the CF1, CF2, CF3, CF4, these values will be known to us. Initial investment will be known to us. The periods 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are known to us. What is unknown is nothing but the R value. So the first method what we are going to do is the hit and trial method or trial and error method we say. So we have to guess the value of R and calculate NPV for project at that value. If the NPV is close to 0, then IRR will be equal to R. So if the NPV what you get by the assumed value of R greater than 0, then increase the R and again calculate the NPV. Why we are increasing? Because NPV what you get is greater than 0. What we want is equal to 0. Since the R is in denominator, we should increase the value of R so that the value will be brought downwards or the value will be reduced, and check whether it is coming approximately equal to 0. If the NPV by assumed value is smaller than 0, then we should decrease the value of R so that the denominator decreases, means this value will increase and the NPV can be close to 0. So recalculate the NPV using new value of R and go back to step 2. So likewise, we have to go for experimenting for different values of R and try to find out the approximately correct value for the internal rate of return, which gives the net present value of the project is equal to 0. So this is, let us say, an example. Find the IRR of an investment having initial cash outflow of 213,000. The cash inflow during first, second, third and fourth years are expected to be 65,200, 96,000, 73,100 and 55,400 respectively. So these are the various cash flows which are given. What we are supposed to calculate is the IRR, means we have to check for which of the rate of interest the net present value comes out to be 0 with this much investment, 2,13,000 and 65,200, 96,000, 73,100 and 55,400 as the net cash inflows for first, second, third and fourth year. So let us, normally if we observe many of the situations, the rate of interest, they are 10%, 15%, 12%, 18%, likewise. So let us go for some arbitrary value, assume that 10% is the rate of interest and calculate the IRR or calculate the net present value using the rate of interest is equal to 10%. So what we have to do is we have to use this formula, each cash flow divided by 1 plus R bracket raised to 1, add them together minus initial investment. So what we have to do is 10% is the R assumed, means it is 0.1. If this is 0.1, the various present value of cash flow will be 65,200 divided by 1.1 bracket raised to 1 plus 96,000 divided by 1.1 bracket square plus 73,100 divided by 1.1 bracket cube plus 55,400 divided by 1.1 bracket raised to 4. This is the present value of all the 4 cash flows. From this, we have to subtract the initial investment, that is minus 2,13,000 and try to calculate. So you can also check the calculation whether the net present value at 10% discount rate we come to certain value, that is 18,372. Now what we observe is this particular value is greater than 0. As this is greater than 0 means we should increase the value of our discount rate. So assume another discount rate, that is 13%. So the rate of interest which is substituted in formula is 0.13. So for each cash flow we have to divide by 1.13 bracket raised to 1 bracket raised to 2 bracket raised to 3 bracket raised to 4. So 65,200 divided by 1.13 raised to 1 plus 96,000 divided by 1.13 square plus 73,100 divided by 1.13 bracket cube plus 55,400 divided by 1.13 bracket raised to 4. This total minus initial investment 2,13,000, that is equal to, you can also check the calculation, the value comes out to be around 4,521. So again the value is greater than 0. So still we need to increase the value of this discount rate. So from 13 we can check for discount rate as 14, and what I observe is applying the same process, each cash flow divided by 1.14 bracket raised to 1 bracket raised to 2 bracket raised to 3 bracket raised to 4 minus initial investment, that comes out to be around 204. Now 204 is approximately close to 0 as compared to the thousands and lakhs values which are given. So we can approximate that tentatively the internal rate of return can be assumed to be approximately equal to 14%, because this is giving value of net present value closer to 0. Another method is we can calculate the internal rate of return by using interpolation method. So in this particular case, what we have to do is, the formula is same. We should get two values of the internal rate, the two values of rate of interest, such that the net present value for the project is positive for one value and negative for another value. So we have to assume one value first, try to calculate the net present value. Let us say the net present value is positive and it is higher than 0 or very greater than 0, then we should increase the R to certain extent such that value will become negative. If we already get the net present value as negative for one value of R, then you should go for reducing the value of R so that another value what you get for NPV is positive. So two values of R, we assume that one value is R1, other is R2, and the net present value we have received for these two values of R, for one it is positive, for another it is negative net present value. Then what we have to do is, we have to take into account the absolute values of NPV for both values of R. So even though for one we have got positive, other we have got negative, take into account only the absolute values, forget about the sign, and then apply the formula internal rate of return is equal to smaller value of R. So among R1 and R2, whatever is the smallest value we should substitute, plus the absolute NPV for this smaller value of R multiplied by the absolute difference between R1 and R2, two interest rate what we have considered, and this entire divided by absolute net present value for R1 plus absolute net present value for R2. So what we have to do is, consider one value of R, calculate the net present value, depending upon whether it comes out to be positive or negative, try to select another value of R so that we can have two values of NPV for the two discount rates, such that NPV is positive for one discount rate, negative for another discount rate. Then calculate the or obtain the value for absolute NPV for R1 as well as absolute NPV for R2, and apply the formula IRR is equal to, out of R1 and R2, whatever is the smaller value, that smaller value of R plus the ratio absolute NPV for smaller R multiplied by absolute difference between R1 and R2 divided by addition of or summation of the absolute NPV for both R1 and R2. That is absolute NPV for R1 plus absolute NPV for R2. So here there will be no approximation. You will directly get the value of IRR by using this particular formula. Certain limitations. Studies indicate that internal rate of return is one of the most popular capital budgeting tool, but theoretically net present value, a measure of absolute value added by a project, is better indicator of project feasibility. So whenever we have both the methods applied, NPV and IRR, as per the opinion by many of the experts, the net present value is preferred over the internal rate of return. The problems with respect to this we will try to consider in the next session. We will try to have the problems for practice related to net present value also and internal rate of return also, because they have similarity with each other. The method what we are applying is one and the same. In one case, R is known, we are calculating the net present value. In second case, net present value is equated to be 0 and we have to calculate the value of R and then check whether the project is to be accepted or the project is to be rejected.